Hi there, everyone. My name is Pam Yankee Love. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation at the University of Louisville Trager Institute, and we are presenting Project Echo in partnership with the Kentucky Coalition for Healthy Communities, and we are very glad you're here. Happy New Year! We always share a little bit about engagement strategies. We ask that you keep your video on. We were just talking about creating community, and it's a great way to do it. But if you can keep your video on, we do ask that you go on and mute yourself. And if you have a comment or a question, you can use your hand, raise your hand, or chat, or even unmute. And if you have difficulty with sound, there's ways to go on and check your system. But we definitely don't want to lose you, and there's other ways to go on and join even via your phone. So stay with us. We do ask that you add your name and your organization to your Hollywood Video Square. There's two different ways of doing it. You can go on and click on the three little dots in the upper right-hand corner of your screen or of your little video square, and a dialog box will drop down, and you can click on Rename, or you can go to the participant list, which is in the lower middle part of your screen, and go on and click on your name, and then click on More, and you can rename yourself there. So as I said, this Project Echo is in partnership with the University of Louisville Trager Institute and the Kentucky Coalition for Healthy Communities. If you're unfamiliar with the University of Louisville Trager Institute, our mission is to help individuals optimally age throughout their lifespan. Our goal is to expand their health span. So the idea is that we do this through a variety of ways. Are a workforce development hub. So we have several grants that help us be able to change the attitudes, the knowledge, and the skills of both seasoned professionals and individuals in their degree programs to help us become more age-friendly in the care that we provide and the clinical systems that we engage in. So we also at the Trager Institute engage in transformation of clinical systems, because as we can change the attitudes and the behaviors and the cognitions of the actual healthcare professionals in our traditional and non-traditional primary care, as well as all of our community agencies. It's hard if the system doesn't support those behaviors. And we also engage in community transformation because so much of our time is not spent within agencies or within healthcare. So we really think about the client and the family in the center, and then we're trying to change all the concentric circles around that individual that help an individual become healthy or stay healthy. And now I'm going to pass the mic to Barbara to see if Barbara will tell us a little bit about the Kentucky Coalition for Healthy Communities. Hey, Barbara.
Hi, thank you. So the Kentucky Coalition for Healthy Communities has been around for many, many years and has evolved during that time frame to be this entity that creates community support systems for older adults in partnership with existing local coalitions and organizations. So we work with a variety of coalitions throughout the state, but also partner with entities like the University of Louisville Trager Institute to promote and develop the workforce and community members, empowering them to become healthier. That's our primary goal, is to help individuals in the community as well as partner organizations to find this really sweet spot of becoming healthier and learning great health behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. So our Project Echo is driven by a couple of different philosophies. We focus on lifestyle medicine, and we focus on the 4Ms framework. Lifestyle medicine, the idea is that there are six pillars to health, and that as we go through our Project Echoes, we try to focus on one of the pillars or more of lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle medicine, as I said, has six pillars. The idea is that food is medicine, so we focus on whole food, plant-based nutrition, that exercise is medicine, engaging in regular physical activities, that there's value in having restorative sleep, that we want to avoid risky substances, we want to engage in positive social connection, and we want to manage our stress. The 4Ms framework comes from the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, and it focuses on that all healthcare should be focused on what matters most, which is the heart. We should be exploring medication and making sure that we assess for high-risk medications and try to de-prescribe when possible. That we always look at mentation, which is our mind and our mood, looking at, so that's the brain there, looking at how our brain is functioning and making sure that we try to prevent and treat, and in some cases reverse any brain health or things related to depression or delirium. And then mobility, making sure that we have daily mobility goals. So always through the eyes of what matters most to the patient. Here's our winter schedule for our Project Echo. So today we have a living celebration beyond from our Mona Huff. On February 20th, we have the power of purpose and social connection in aging well on February 20th. March 20th, we have suicide in later life, recognizing risk and responding with compassion. And April 24th, we have gardening for health, movement, nutrition, and connection with nature. So we usually have an alternating schedule between lifestyle medicine and other topics. So if you're unfamiliar with Project Echo has been around since the early 2000s. The idea is that it is a tele-mentoring platform. The idea is that we don't want to move knowledge. We want to move knowledge, sorry. We don't want to move patients. So the idea is that this was developed by Dr. Sanji Arora, an MD, and actually an hepatitis C expert, where he was having patients drive 200 to 300 miles to see him. And so he wasn't increasing capacity. All he was doing was taking one appointment away from one other person. So the idea was that he says, how could we build capacity at a local level? So he developed this telementoring platform. There are Project Echoes around the world on a variety of different topics. The idea is to have a case-based learning opportunity where you have a didactic, then we have a case, and then what we do is we teach all, learn all in our community, sharing what we know and learning from each other, and teaching best practices and interdisciplinary team-based care. So you can receive an attendance certificate for our 1.5 hours for today's session by completing the evaluation at the end of the session and letting us know that you're interested in receiving a certificate. For those individuals that are community health workers and social workers, you must complete the evaluation at the end to receive the continuing education credit. Continuing education credits are provided by a couple of different places. If you're a community health worker, you can receive CEUs, 1.5 CEUs, from the Kentucky Association of Community Health Workers. If you're a social worker, we have been approved to provide CEUs to social workers. And we thank Brescia University for that as well. Now today we have our friend and our colleague, Mona Huff, presenting a living celebration and beyond. And I have a little bio here that I'd like to share. So Mona Huff is a retired pastor and a community educator. She's a national fellow with community education. She's a state certified community educator and a certified Kentucky community health worker. Her current work is with the Trager Institute at the University of Louisville with a focus on better health for the aging population for the state of Kentucky. Mona was married to and was the caregiver of her best friend, Mike. They have 2 children, 7 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. She enjoys prison ministry, leading conferences, classes for both ministry and health-related subjects, reading, gardening, walking, and connecting the community to seniors. Bone is an advocate for many of her passions and helps others believe that aging is a privilege. And she's a remarkable person who brings hope and joy to every one of us. So thank you, Mona, for being with us. And I think this is a beautiful way to start the new year, talk about a living celebration. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam. So we're going to be talking about a living celebration and beyond. The first time I did this, it was just about a living celebration because my beloved actually was there when I presented. But now that he's not with us, I have added a few things and hope that this will help all of us. So death, the parallels between birth and death, and what we want to do is to understand life's bookends. Now, I speak to you from one who's experienced death in many ways. When I was 7 years old, my grandmother, who was my caregiver, she died very unexpectedly. Over the years, I have lost, of course, some really close friends, many relatives. My first husband died at age 41 with cancer. And of course, Mike died this past June with Lewy body disease. I've lost my mother. I've lost my sister. I've experienced several miscarriages. So I really understand my grief in these situations. But as you're going to find out, every grief journey is different and every relationship is different. So we'll talk about that a bit. So let us remember there are two, go back. Let us remember there are two events in life that we have little control over, and that is birth and that is death. Both are real and both should be celebrated. However, we want to remember, and we're going to talk an awful lot about this, is to appreciate and celebrate the time in between. We want to be present where we are and find joy in the day. Okay. So what we're going to do, our objectives, is define a living celebration. We're going to provide some information how to plan a meaningful event with dignity. And then we are going to speak about death with grace. We're going to learn how to speak about death with grace and comfort to the dying, as well as to the caregiver. And then later, when death comes, how we speak to the loved ones after that. So there's a picture of Mike and me several years ago at an event. And so at least you have a little bit of what he was like. You can just tell by the way that he's standing there holding on to me and that smile, what a good, kind man he was and a very wonderful husband. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. So what is a living celebration? Well, it's a time to honor the allowing the honoree to hear expressions of love and appreciation from family and friends. They talk about their shared memories, some of the things that has happened. It creates a positive and uplifting experience for everyone involved. And it often focuses on the significant moments and accomplishments of their life, rather than dwelling on the impending death. As I listened to people as they greeted Mike, they would say, "Do you remember when?" Also, though, I always want to say when I'm talking about this, we need to allow the person to be able to speak death to you if they want to, if they need to. It is not morbid. It is not giving up. It is that they choose to live in their truth, and they may need to be able to express that. So this picture right here, that was Mike's mantra. Mike had that mantra, life matters, way back in the 80s and 90s before it became the thing. I only wish that he had connected with an attorney. With all the matters we got today, I wouldn't have to worry about anything, would I? Because that is the saying about everything, that life matters. And right there, you're going to see Pam right there in front. This is the great group of people that helped me with this idea. Oh, there's Justin behind there, I believe. And of course, Dr. Fall and some others. Okay, so let's go on. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of an agenda, what we did. Obviously, you need to do what you and your loved one would want, but we had a time for fellowship and love. One of the things that I would just bring your attention to that I was not real alert to in the very beginning is making sure that you have a good, comfortable seat and someone with the guest at all times. Mike was standing an awful lot, and he really wasn't capable of that. And so we had to set it up so that it was comfortable for people to be able to pull a chair up to him, and they talked that way. Then we had a more formal time for a toast or roast service, and then we had food and fellowship. Now, at the end of our toast and roast service, he had chosen for a dear pastor friend to speak, and that became just a little bit longer than what we had anticipated. So our food was really a little bit late, but that beautiful team in the kitchen did not have any problems at all. If you do not want presents, then you might want to figure out a donation jar to something that's really important to that person. And Mike chose to send his donations to Resident Encounter Christ. That's a prison minister that Mike had served for many, many years. Okay, so go on. And so I also say be real. Have time for education. Everybody that heard that Mike had Lewy body dementia would say, what is that? Explain it to me. And let me tell you, I even had healthcare providers who were specialists in other items. I mean, other areas. Obviously, they can't know everything that would ask me. Educate me on that, they would say. And we had this saying that we just hated Louis, but we loved Mike. And if Mike woke up in the morning with feeling that Louis was trying to take over, he would say, all right, Louis, you're not welcome here. You leave. And, we would try to make a joke of it, but yet we wanted to become educated. And I did a lot of research, wrote a lot of things down so that people would understand. It helped me as well, obviously. I sent it to Dr. Furman, Dr. Gomes, and Dr. Fall to make sure that I had interpreted research correctly. And it was really a nice thing. I had so many people express their appreciation for being able to learn more about this horrible disease. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, here's the venue we were at. This is the farm out at Dr. Falls. And they do weddings and all kinds of things there, but they also do things like this. And so it was just a beautiful time. That is me. I welcomed people. I did a little acrostic with his name, which I'm kind of known for. I've done that for a lot of different things. So you can go on, Justin. Okay, so you need to find out if your person wants a memory table, and he did. And of course, he was military. He had retired quite some time ago. And so we pulled a lot of that out. As you can see, there was his Residence Encounter shirt there. Our wedding album was there. His fire chaplain helmet was there. And then a friend who does this beautiful chalk art did one of Jesus in a jail talking to someone, and one of him feeding a homeless, hungry person. And Mike was overjoyed with those, and they're still in my home. Okay, so let's go on. So let's start our planning now. So it's obvious that we need to know our loved one, and if they want it, we need to know what they want. I've had some people say that a surprise would be good, but I think I would advise against, unless you know your person awfully well and know that it would work. Your loved one may ask you about a living celebration, a living funeral, or a living memorial. And how that happened in our situation is I had gone to a conference many years ago when I first started at Trager, actually, and there had been a conference on a living celebration, and it just sounded interesting to me, so that I thought that I would go to it. And when I came home, of course, I was talking to Mike, telling him about the different sessions that I went into and talked about that. And he said, boy, that sounds really, really meaningful. And at that time, my brother was very sick with frontal lobe dementia, and he had already got to the point where he didn't know people. So I called my niece, and we were talking about this, and she said, I would love to do it, but I wouldn't want to do it very big. And so she decided to do just immediate family only. There was his children and us three sisters that were left. And we were all around this big table. They had a huge house and big table. We were all talking to Larry. And when it was my turn to say something, I just went back to some of the memories of us, some of the things that I really appreciated in him. I remember making the comment, I just pray that I had been half the parent that you have. He and his wife were just a model of parenting. Their children are wonderful people. And he looked at me and he says, well, I don't know your name. I don't know who you are, but I like the way you talk. I started laughing. I said, well, you didn't say that when I was a teenager. But I had tears coming down my cheek at the same time. So it can be a very beautiful time. If they do want it, if one of your people has said to you, yes, I've heard about this living celebration, I want it, well, I say take a deep breath, get some of your friends together, your family together like I did, and plan well. But be prepared for resistance. I had some people that just could not believe, and all they could think of it was a living funeral. And some people do call it that, but I prefer living celebration. But they just thought it sounded morbid to them. And I tried to educate them and love on them, but I went on with my plans. I did not let them discourage me. I was kind to them, but that's what Mike wanted, so that's what we were going to do. And actually, I can think of a few that came and then afterwards talked about how it moved them and how different it was than what they expected. If they're capable to choose whether they want family and friends to speak, let them make those choices. And also whether they want clergy. If you do get clergy, make sure that this clergy person understands that this is a celebration of life, and it's really not a time of begging God for healing. This person has already accepted their death. And if a miracle is to come, that's fine, but that's not the purpose of this particular celebration. Do they want a roast toast time? Do they want to talk? Do they want a table with pictures and important things in their lives showcased? Do they want music? If they do they just want background music, or do they want a live band? Do they want it planned around a celebration, perhaps a birthday or a Father's Day, Mother's Day, something like that? Or they want it as a solo event? Do they want a video, much like you may see at the funeral? And do they want to help put it together? My husband did, and he helped put it together, and it was just really a very special thing. In fact, I have a link to it at the end of this if you want to see it. We're not going to see it during this, but I put it on so that if anybody wanted to see what it looked like, they could. And do they want to support a cause instead of gifts? Okay. So what's the next steps? Well, we want to choose a date and a meaningful location. We want to make decisions about food. It can be as simple or as extravagant as you desire. I would suggest choosing some of their favorite things. Dr. Fall and Dr. Joe, they called and asked me, and chicken and green beans was his thing. And so we had that along with some others. It could be that your situation would be that a potluck would work well with family and friends. And we did have a few of our people that brought something, even though they weren't asked to. Make decisions about speakers, music, and invitation list. Personalize the decor, decorate a table with themes from their life. And you saw that that's exactly what we did with Mike. Decide what you will do at the living celebration. Leave time for people to be able to speak with your loved one. You may use badges with the idea of helping everyone know how they are connected to the honored guests. That was one thing when we started planning this. Mike was so embarrassed because he was having such a hard time remembering people. And he says, Mona, I'm not going to know anybody's name. I'm going to feel really odd. And I said, well, Mike, some of these folks we haven't seen since COVID anyway. And my guess is all of us are going to have a hard time remembering each other. So why don't we do a badge, and then they can put how they are connected to you. And then that even helps the family know where all these people know you from. And of course, that was a good idea. It made it easy on him and me, because there's people, but there's a lot of changes in that number of years, how people look. And so it worked out well. And we really enjoyed that. Write something like a eulogy to share with your guest. Anyone can give it, whoever that person being honored wants to share. If the loved one wants the memory clip, that's usually used at a funeral, I would really suggest to get somebody with experience to help. I had a really wonderful person who came and did it for us, and she did such a beautiful job. You might consider videoing or live streaming. Dr. Fall, she videoed it for us, and some people that couldn't get there appreciated that so much. Have a guest book or a large poster so that guests can write something to the loved one. We had a little booklet, and people just wrote their memories or some little something about them. And we went over that stuff for weeks. We also got a lot by email and text when people couldn't be there. So I printed those and copied and pasted them in that book. So that book was just a wonderful memory for him. Make sure there's comfortable seating for the loved one. Remember, I kind of blew that one and we had to think of something right away. And also make sure that someone is close to them to make sure they are hydrated and not feeling overwhelmed. When I saw what was happening, I tried to make myself more available. And then another friend of mine saw what was happening and realized that I needed to be talking to people. So she was a nurse. And so she came up and asked me if I can watch him. And I said, that would be wonderful. And so that's something you might even want to think of ahead of time. So it's not a last minute thing. Okay, so let's go on. So we're going to talk now about ways to express death. And of course, we know that our culture tends to avoid the word death or dying. We see such things as passed or departed or passed away or left this world, at peace, gone to sleep, gone to their grave, we lost, they left to get their angel wings. While I'm not saying that these are detrimental, I do wonder sometimes if it's another way for us not to accept death in itself. And that if we might want to start saying, my husband died. And I say that. I don't say my husband passed away or something like that. I will say my husband died June 8th. The death of the loved one can be one of the most painful and challenging events that we experience. And I think all of you know that. While grief, sorrow, and fear is a natural response to such an impending loss, many people find comfort and healing through being able to talk about it. And I could tell you story after story, not only in my personal life, but in my professional life, as both working in the intensive care unit and then other things as far as ministry, where if a person was wanting to talk about death, somebody would say, oh, no, we're not going to talk about that. You're not going to die. And that person really needed to be able to talk. And there's been more than once that I have asked people to leave the room so I could allow that person to say what they needed to say and then comfort them and then maybe be able to talk to the other people later to help them. Be mindful to let the loved one talk freely and being able to say, I am dying if they need or want to express that. When I gave this talk in the very beginning, at the end, my husband rose. It wasn't planned, but he did it. He did have a really good mind at that time and a stubborn mind. And he looked at everybody and he says, I know I'm dying. I don't know if it's going to be next week or if it's going to be 3 years from now, but I know that I'm dying. And if any of you want to talk to me about that, I'll be around. He had accepted his death. And his comment was so often, I win either way. If a miracle does come, I get to stay in this world and be with Mona. But if it does not, I know where I'm going. And that's a miracle too. So my hope is that we can help people to get to that place. And we do not want to argue and talk about miracles. I believe in miracles. I have seen miracles. I've experienced miracles, and they do happen. But you can pray for that person to have a miracle to yourself. But let the person say what they need to say. Be careful of wording if you are praying over a dying person. Remember, complete healing comes in death. A prayer for easy transition when it is their time and strength for the family. Usually that's what they're worried about. They're not even worried about their passing as much as they are, how is Mona going to make it without me? And they need to hear that you're concerned about not only them having an easier death, but that Mona will have the strength that she needs to walk that journey. Okay? So why can't we talk about death? Well, I think, first of all, we're not prepared. We've never been taught to talk about death. I remember when I was a very young woman in my early 20s, and my aunt that lived in Las Vegas was dying with cancer. She had no children. I was the closest thing she had to a child, and she wanted me to go out there and be with her for a while. And my mother went, her sister, my aunt went, and Aunt Lorraine was wanting to talk about death, and they absolutely forbid it. They said, "We are not talking about death. You are getting well." And so, as I mentioned earlier, in time, I asked them to leave the room and I let my aunt say what she needed to say and make plans that she needed to make. It is unsettling to think about our mortality and especially the death of a loved one. So sometimes we don't want to mention it because we don't, I mean, if you don't talk about it, it won't happen, right? We think of that in a lot of areas of life. We don't want to traumatize our loved ones. We fear a family dispute. And I know if my mother and my aunt had heard my conversation with Aunt Lorraine, that I would have been in big trouble. It can make us think about all that we have not accomplished, and that can cause sadness or guilt. And we also feel bad about asking loved ones to do work on our behalf. And I think some of the most important conversations that Mike had for his well-being is when he was able to talk to my son, my brother-in-law, and a good friend, and gave them instructions to take care of me. And in his humor, he says, "And if you don't, I'll be back to haunt you." But he needed to be able to say that to somebody. And he didn't need for my son or anybody else to say, "Oh, no, Mike, you're not going to die." He needed them to say, "We're praying for you, but yes, we will be there for Mona." And that's what they got, and it gave him peace. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So talking about death may be uncomfortable. Our goal in this section will be able to help others learn the importance of helping the one dying to be able to die with peace and comfort. We're going to provide tips to allow our loved ones to talk about death and not be fearful of it. And we want to learn that death can be a very sacred and holy time as we enter the most intimate time of a person's life. Holding the hand of someone you love, your voice being the last thing they heard, is something very beautiful. A healthy acceptance of death. So accepting and coming to terms with the fact that death is a normal part of life can give you life more presently. Being conscious of our mortality helps us live each day with more gratitude and help us appreciate our life. To free yourself from death, you have to be able to say, "Okay, death, I see you. I know that one of these days it's going to be my turn, and I'm ready for you, but I'm not going to allow you to cause me fear. I'm going to live each day fully and be in the present." Just shake your fist at it and say, "You do not control me." That's okay, Justin, go on. So what are some things that you may say to the dying? Well, first of all, you do want to give accolades of love. Now, if that relationship has been strained, you may say, "I know that things happened, but I want you to know that I love you unconditionally." And this is going to provide unspeakable peace. If your loved one asks you to forgive them, affirm that you do and that you love them. Do not argue that forgiveness is not necessary because you're taking their peace away from them. You may even want to say to them, "And I ask you to forgive me for any part of the relationship that makes you feel like you need to ask me for forgiveness." Because it's probably a two-way street. It's probably going to help you too. Share precious memories with them. Let them know how important their life is to you. Try to smile and be comforting. You may just simply need to sit and hold their hand in silence. One thing I would like to say, though, when you come into a room, say who you are, because often vision and hearing are diminished as we are in the dying process and really the aging process, not just someone that's really at the very end. Know that you will be sad and grieve their death, but that you'll be okay. Sometimes they need to hear that. It is okay. I'm going to be okay. My son just stopped in unexpectedly and gave me a kiss. That's nice. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Things you may say to the dying. Again, ask if they want you to pray, if that's something that would comfort them. Do not force prayers on them. You can always pray privately. But if they do want you to pray, thank God for your relationship with them and that He would give them great peace and comfort during this time. A simple 2-3 sentence prayer is sufficient. That's all they need. If they say they're tired of pain and suffering and fighting, let them know that it's okay to stop fighting and to focus on peace and comfort instead. Assure them that you are there for them and be there for them. If they ask you, am I dying? You can say, well, I don't really know the time and date, but it does appear the end is near. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about or something that I can provide for you? Do not deny or ask them not to talk that way. It's not a lack of faith, but acceptance. One helpful tip I have for you is to be honest, not rawly honest, but honest. Be authentic and don't sugarcoat things. Don't tell them they're not going to die when it's pretty obvious that they are going to be dying. It may be weeks or months, but again, you don't know the date or the time. In other words, be your caring self and you'll do fine. Okay? Things not to say when one is dying. And I've had so many people say, well, I just don't talk because I'm afraid I'd say the wrong thing. So let's talk about that a little bit. So one things not to say, I'm still hoping and praying for a miracle. Of course, you can keep praying on your own, but when you're communicating with someone in hospice or in the dying stages, be accepting of the fact that they've moved past hoping for a miracle. Keep fighting. Oh, goodness, be respectful of their decision to stop fighting. Let them die with dignity. Everything happens for a reason. When I hear that, I want to spit. This unintentionally implies that the person must have done something wrong to deserve to die. This is God's plan, will. People of faith can be angry or sad at the end of life, and they're likely to struggle with this idea. Telling them that you're praying for peace and comfort may be a better way to speak. And I've heard folks actually say this to someone that is ashen. You look great. Don't tell someone, they look great, unless of course they do, but they probably don't, and they know it. So you just need to be real with them. And you're not going to tell them they look awful, but you're going to say, oh, it's so great to see you. And maybe a little hug. Okay? All righty. So now we're passing over to our caregivers and family, things to say to them. A helpful tip. Let me know if there's anything I can do comes from a good place, but it puts the burden of asking someone who's struggling and possibly really not thinking clearly. For that reason, gestures tend to be more helpful. If you spend a little time with the caregiver, you can pick up on things they need and they don't have to ask for it. You can tell them, I'm thinking of you as you take care of your loved one. A text, what comfort for her to have you with her. Love you both. This must be a challenging time for you and your family, keeping all of you in my thoughts and prayers. It's okay not to be okay right now. I've heard people say, come on, straighten up. You've got to be strong through this. No, if they need to break down, we need to give them that room and that opportunity. If we hold it in, it's going to be worse later. Remember that and know that it's fine to let some balls drop. You have people who will come and help pick things up. Me, for one. And if you say that to them, be that one. I think of the things that were picked up for me very early in Mike's diagnosis. Someone offered to do my yard. I can't tell you what a gift that was for me. A neighbor takes my garbage in and out. Again, a beautiful gift for me. I don't really know what would help most, but I figure you still need to eat, so here's dinner. Now, just a little hints on these dinners. I know spaghetti and meatballs and chili are really easy to fix, but very often at a time like this when we're grieving, we just are a little bit nauseous. So let's think of things like chicken noodle soup and a little bit, comforting type of thing. I know you're not able to be home a lot right now, so I will keep the lawn mowed. I already shared how big of a deal that was for me. Thought you might could use a little break from worrying about food on top of everything else, so we've got a meal train set up running for you. Hope it takes a little off your mind. And try to know their diet needs and convey that to others. Okay, next one. One thing I wanted to say with the meal train too, another thing is I'm going to the grocery store tomorrow. Would you like to make a list and I'll pick up things you need? Don't say, I'm on my way to the grocery store. Is there anything you need? I mean, they can't think like that. Okay, death comes, what not to say. I know how you feel. Well, I think I mentioned that kind in the very beginning. No matter how many deaths one has experienced, every relationship is different. Every emotion is different. And we don't know how one feels. We might imagine, but we certainly don't know. I've heard people say, I can't imagine what you're going through. And that's pretty comforting. You had them for a long time. I don't care if I had them 50 years. That makes me want to have them even more. The longer you're with someone, the more you're going to miss them. Everything happens for a reason. Well, does it? That's just not very comforting, is it? And God needed another angel is really not very comforting. They would not want you to be sad. I'm not sure of that. When I die, Pam, I want you to be a little sad. No, I don't want you to break down and go to pieces, but I want you to be a little sad. You're strong. You're going to get through it. Oh, don't make someone stronger than they are. Yeah, we are strong and we will get through it, but we need you. They are in a better place, and that's probably true, but not real comforting when you want them in your arms right then. Time heals all wounds. No, 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 no. It will get better. Grief is a journey, but we never get to the end of the journey. My first husband died, oh goodness, I can't even think how many years ago now, I guess 40. And there are times that something will come up and I am back just like he just died. And here I've had this beautiful life with Mike in the meantime. So yes, you can find another mate or have another child. Come on now. We don't need to hear that. Now, someone jokingly said to me a while back, well, are you going to look for number 3? And I couldn't help but laugh. I said, number 1 died at 41 with cancer. Number 2 died at 73 with dementia. Do you think somebody wants to be number 3? No, I don't think so. So I'm not looking. That happens, it'll have to be a divine appointment. Okay, at least they're not suffering anymore. And yes, that means so much to me in my heart for me to say to myself, but I don't know. That's just not the best thing to say, especially in the very beginning. And then you should. No shouldas. They've got to figure out their shoulds for themselves. Okay, let's go on. I'm so sorry for your loss. Hold them close and say, I am here for you. You don't have to have a long thing to say. My heart goes out to you. Acknowledge their feelings, letting them know that it's okay not to be okay. Share a memory of their loved one and say their name. Mike's been gone 7 months, and I yearn to hear his name and some of the funny things that he did. Most of my family and friends already, it's Mona. They don't talk about Mike. And my real close fellowship group that I go to church with on Sundays and go out to eat with them, I told them that not too long ago. So they're being more intentional. But see, I felt comfortable being able to say that. They was afraid bringing up his name was going to make me sad. And it may make me sad, but I still need to know that other people remember Mike, that I'm not the only one that's sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I wish Mike was here. I told Barbara the other day, this first time I could say that I'm glad he wasn't here. His dear friend that he had met that was homeless and went through a long road with him for about 10 years and got him in good shape was killed. That would have hurt Mike so bad to get those news. And that was the first time I could say, I'm glad he's not here. Okay, listen and validate their feelings. Don't tell them they shouldn't feel that way. I can't see all that, but what this is about, when something happens, be that person that can be helpful, whether it's bringing some toilet paper, what it might be. I have one friend that it's kind of been a ministry to her. She goes to people's houses with a notebook and she writes down the foods and who brought them and that kind of stuff. So that's very helpful. Follow up after the service and offer support or take a meal. A lot of times the service, amen, is the last time people see each other, months, years, and sometimes ever. Help them understand that grief comes in waves and they can call or text you anytime. Text them just because, thinking of you. I get so many of those and they're so appreciative. Stop by with a smile, a rose, or a bowl of soup. Okay, so I've got some resources here for you. I didn't have a slide on end-of-life paperwork. I did mention it, but if you do need end-of-life paperwork, that is something that Justin is really familiar with. It's kind of one of his specialties, and we believe that everyone starting at age 18 should have end-of-life paperwork so that when something happens, the family left behind knows what your wishes are. So if you need some help with that, just let us know. We do have a caregiver program, and you did hear me mention caregiving, and I don't know what I would have done without the caregiver support groups that I was a part of. And again, you can fill this form out, and someone from that program will notify you within a few days and talk to you. So many helps out there. I've done some virtual with Lewy body support groups, and oh my goodness, how helpful it's been. And now I'm on one for Lewy body support widows, and that's good too. Okay, so let's go on. So life is a challenge. Meet it. Life is a dream. Realize it. Life is a sacrifice. Offer it. Life is love. Enjoy it. Okay. We are open now for any questions or comments. And I know, Justin, there's been a few chats come through. So if the ones that you want everyone to know, if you would read those. And again, I've asked Barbara to be available if there's a question. I have a lot of experience, but I don't have all the academics behind it. And she is a professional person that teaches, as well as she's had a lot of personal grief to deal with as well. Okay, so I see a hand there. That's Barbara. Is that your hand? Oh, no, I guess it wasn't.
Oh, thank you so much, Mona. We do have some comments. Let's see. Chris, would you like to jump on and share your comment?
Sure. So I am a social work intern within Traeger's caregiver program, and I have been a caregiver for both of my parents since I was 18, so over the past 18 years. Different issues. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, so he had Agent Orange, which came with kidney failure, and then it was diabetes, then kidney failure, vision issues, neuropathy, and he passed away unexpectedly May of 2024 of a massive heart attack in his sleep. I guess he had gotten his stuff in order. When he passed away, his funeral was paid for, planned, everything. He even had a thing in his computer, list of songs I want, what I want
Mm.
them to wear because he was very big on didn't want it to put anybody out. So we had like a 2 hour visitation and a half an hour mass, and that was him. We all wore red, white, and blue with jeans. It looked like a picnic instead of a funeral, but it was purely what my dad wanted. And then I mentioned that he had wrote people letters, so that's what got everybody super sad. But the greatest thing I think, the greatest last gift a loved one can give the ones behind is having it planned because I didn't have to worry about all that. I was able to actually grieve and celebrate him. So
Mhm.
my mom sat there telling everybody, plan your funeral. And my brother was like, that's so depressing. And I'm like, no, we didn't have to plan nothing. Like this is truly him and the way he wanted it and what he wanted. And I'm still grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that. That's great. It is a beautiful gift. All righty, let's see. Ada, would you like to share your comment?
Yes. Chris, that was amazing what you just said. Yeah, I work for Archel Hetty and Son Funeral Home, and I am a pre-planning advisor. So my mission is just truly to encourage everyone, no matter of your age, to get a plan in place, because it is just truly a beautiful thing that you can do with your family and do for your family. So yeah, I just definitely encourage that because you just never know what tomorrow may bring.
Yeah. Ada, I tell people that's the greatest gift they can ever give their family.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just, having those conversations. I recently just lost my 18-year-old son to a tragic motorcycle
So
accident.
sorry.
And, I'm so blessed that I had had conversations with him even at a young age of 18. And I knew what he wanted. And on the worst day of my life, I was able to make some decisions that I knew that he would have been happy with. So just talk to your loved ones.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And our sympathies go with you.
Thanks, Mona.
All right. Amanda, let's see. Would you like to share your comment? Amanda indicates a lot of great, helpful information for those of us that still struggle with discomfort surrounding what to say and to do to be supportive of those who are dying and those that have experienced loss. Thank you so much, Mona.
Sorry about that. I thought I was off mute and I
Oh,
wasn't, but I wanted to add additionally on Ada's post, I also put, please
mm,
do this for your family. My mom passed and she hadn't done that, and we hadn't had any of those conversations. And the additional emotional strain of being afraid that I didn't follow what she would have wanted on top of unimaginable grief is it just compounds things. So
Yes, it certainly does. And that's why we have to recognize that's a beautiful gift we can give our family, whether we're 18 or 78.
yes.
Mine's all done. They don't have to do anything. And that's the way Mike had his.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Abe, did you want to share a comment or have a question?
Yeah, hello. I just wanted to share. I'm so glad I took the death and grief class last semester. I took it with Dr. Stephanie Prost. I did not have it with Miss Barbara. Um, but there's things, concepts that we learned that apply to so much. And when I'm working with clients, I'll hear things and I'll be like, oh, ding, 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 and then I'll bring it up to them, and it kind of helps them process. But one of the things that stuck out to me, Mona, when you were talking about your first husband that passed away at 40 or 41, and that you'll think about them and then it'll be like it just happened. And that was making me think of I'm sure you guys are familiar with the dual process model of loss-oriented grief and restoration-oriented grief, and how we oscillate between the two. And after learning about that, I bring that up so often, and how that's just what grief looks like, and it happens throughout your entire life. It doesn't stop happening, and one is not worse than the other, of being in loss-oriented grief, of sitting with the feelings and going over mementos and having a good cry, and then switching over to restoration of acceptance and adapting. So that's just what I picked up on. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Very well said.
Thank
Yeah, the
you.
conversation project is a great place to start. And I do have that on the slides so that when you get the slides, if you want to know more about that, you can.
Justin, would you like to share about that?
Sure. Well, so I'll comment on the conversation project first. Mona and I are kindred spirits in this space, and the conversation project is a great way to reflect on values. So asking, basically it has a starter kit, and it walks you through how to reflect on your values and what's important, and then how to share those with people. So it's a great place to start for yourself, and then you can share it with other people. It's free. It's really, really user friendly. They provide multiple resources on their website to talk about, how do you start this conversation? It's a great, so like the way I would start is if you see something topical, if you see it in the news, if you watch a movie together, if you're watching something or you're listening to something and you hear it, like I absolutely don't want that if something happened to me and I couldn't make decisions. That's a really good way to enter into it. I could talk about this for a long, long time and I won't, but just looking for things that reflect on your values and go, that goes against what I would want. And that's the way I would start the conversation. Mona, I just want to say that I so love that you did this. I'm actually meeting with a group, and my phone was blowing up as you were doing the presentation. We're doing one of these for a dear friend of mine, and we're meeting for the first time on Sunday to start the planning process. So I'm getting these texts going, okay, we're meeting Sunday at 4 o'clock, and I'm going, oh, cool. Like I can like go into this feeling like I have a perspective on it. I control the recording, so I can share the recording with them. But like I love that you're able to share so much of yourself. And something I wanted to say about your should nots, things not to say. If someone ever says to me, and they're the bereaved, if they're the dying person, and they say God has a plan, like I am totally cool with like that person who is experiencing the situation to say almost all of those things of, to them about themselves. But I really recognize like, how damaging it can be to project that onto somebody else. And I just love, and I know that you've gotten all of this through hard experience. So I really love that you're able to open up your heart and share it with people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, there's a few other folks in the chat. Susan, would you
Barbara,
like
have
to?
you seen any in the chat that you think you need to respond to? I know our time is getting
Yeah.
limited.
I've actually not been checking the chat mainly because Pam was. I do want to share a couple of things, but I want to make sure that Pam attends to the chat
Yeah, there.
before I do.
Susan, would you like to come on and ask your question? Susan says, what happens to caregivers who have to continue to experience loss of loved ones continuously after you take care of the maybe death of a terminal illness? My family had burnt me out with that to the point that I moved away because it was just too much sadness. How do you recharge?
That's the one I saw, Barbara, and thought maybe you might want to address.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Susan, first, I understand totally the question. And caregivers actually sometimes it's not recognized for a host of reasons, including, American culture and the fact that we are death-defying culture still. And often we don't even recognize grief and losses to the extent that we should, particularly with caregivers. Caregivers begin to lose significantly in a variety of ways, even prior to the individual, passing away, dying. And often that grief is not recognized and is not dealt with, and it compounds to the extent sometimes that they have a lot of conflict once the person does die, because sometimes they feel relief, and that's contradictory to what they should what they feel based on culture and society, what they feel that they should be feeling. So it's a really complex space. Just FYI, for those of you who may not know, and many of you do, uh, through our caregiver program, we do caregiver grief training for our caregivers, for those who might be interested. Um, Typically, maybe once or twice a year, Misty tries to make sure that occurs. But it's really, really important. And of course, you can also access it through our YouTube. Library, whatever it's called. Justin, you may know what the official name of it is, but those there are recordings out there that you can access that you may be able to share with individuals who you think could benefit from getting exposed to that type of information so that they can recognize and understand that as a caregiver, you're experiencing a variety of different type of losses during that time period. And afterwards, if that grief has been compounded significantly, and for you who asked that particular question, I encourage you to definitely seek professional help. Grief can be very disruptive of your life if it's compounded and isn't dealt with and addressed readily. So don't ever hesitate to reach out for professional help to help you to process and go through it. The
Thank
other
you,
thing,
Barbara.
the other thing I want to share is that many of you are professionals who work in the field or students who are learning, etc. Please know that it is important for you to, again, I'm so happy you're here, to expose yourself to these type of conversations. Justin, I hadn't seen it on my calendar here lately, but Justin has done something called Deaf Cafes. And the, purpose of that is to, again, help expose people to having these type of conversations, because bottom line, people do not like to have these conversations. And there are some significant cultural implications in this space as well that you must be sensitive to, that you must expose yourself to. Mona shared a lot of good knowledge and information, but even with that information, you have to go in with cultural humility, making sure that you meet people where they are. There are some cultures where some terminology is not appropriate to be used when you talk about death, et cetera. And that's a whole another hour or two conversation, or maybe a semester of learning. But I wanted to mention it so that you can be sensitive and recognize that. And definitely, if you're working with individuals, make sure that you acknowledge the cultural aspects of death, dying, grief, conversating about death, etc. It's not the same in every culture. I'm sure you all know that. But it's our responsibility, especially in the helping profession, if we're working in this space, it's our responsibility to add to our knowledge and our experiences so that we can be sensitive in that space.
Thank you so much. I'd like to end, Justin, by saying that very often, if we can write our words out during these times, it helps us. And I just want to share a couple of writings that I did during this time, and with hope that it will help you. It's called The Power of Words and Hope. I have known and lived hopelessness. I have known grief many nights and felt all alone. I find myself looking ahead and wondering what will be. There's no cure for Lewy body dementia, my husband's condition. It's hard on the body, soul, and mind. This increases the trauma, and my brain will not listen to reason. But I do have some say in determining how we will live with it, and therein lies my power with God's help. We cannot do this by ourselves. We have hope to know and believe that our faith will get us through the journey. We have hope that our family and friends can understand us. We have hope to bring quality to his days and therefore to mine. I hope to provide care with dignity and respect for my loved one. I hope to love fully and completely, knowing the bad days belongs to the ugly disease. We hope to flourish and be present to the good in the midst of devastation. We hope to rise above and for us to fully realize the best is yet to come. I wrote that less than a year before he died. And then 3 months after he died, I wrote this. The complications of Lewy body took my dear husband. The day was June 8th, 2025, and it will always be embedded in my heart. We were blessed with such an easy and beautiful transition. He had a stroke on June 6th and was received into hospice care that evening and into the inpatient unit on 6/7. I'm thankful for the events up to his death that gave him time for his celebration of life and such a beautiful show of love for him. I am thankful that his daughter was able to share some private time with him that was healing for both. However, with all the thankfulness that I can muster, I still am grieving, and some days are simply overwhelming. And I know that I'm no different than the people in your life. So love them, text them, just because. Stop by when your gut tells you that it is time. Call them and take them for lunch or shopping. Sometimes it's just overwhelming to get out all by yourself. Some of my friends have stopped by and said, I just feel like I needed to give a hug to you today. Do not worry about what to say and do not keep from mentioning the loved one's name. Usually one wants to tell a story and share some memories as no one knows them like you do. If someone starts to tell you a story that you've heard before, please do not stop them. They need to remember it again too. I still know the power of words and hope. So I want to thank you for attending today. And I hope that this session will give you hope to be able to help not only yourself, but your loved ones around you. Thank you, Justin, for asking me.
Thank you so much, Ramona. That was beautiful. Okay, Barbara.
Hold on just a second. I'm going to just make one little announcement as we're transitioning to the KCHC meeting. If you would like to access today's session information, so the PowerPoints or the recording, if you log into iEcho, your screen will look something like this. And you'll look at, this is the session from November. You'll see that basically after the session, I upload the information. So when you log in, you can just click on today's session and a link to the PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be here under the session details. And I will turn it over to Barbara.
So yes, you can go ahead to the next slide. We're going to talk just a little bit about, go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. A little about sharing this information that we learned today. And I have to say that I think Mona, I can't remember how many times I've heard you do this presentation. It's different every time in the way that it's supposed to be different every time. And don't want to give you too much work, but I know and understand, even based on the comments that was shared with us, et cetera, that everyone has learned quite a bit today in this short period of time together. But as we know, again, this type of information really does need to get out into our communities. So I like to ask that question, how will you share this information with your community, with the people that you serve? What are the best ways to do that? I'm thinking right now of a way to invite Mona to come talk to my women's group at church, for example. I'm just letting you know, Mona, I'm going to hit you up here in a little bit to do that because it's such a powerful message in it. I do think it breaks down some of the barriers that we have as it relates to talking in this space, but not only talking, but literally doing the work that needs to be done. So I just would love to just hear from you. You can put things in the chat if you like, about how you might respond to that question. How will you share this information with your community? And I see Taryn says, I'm thinking about having a workshop at the senior living community I work at. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Even, some of our students who are on, how, as you continue to consider how you're going to practice your future careers, et cetera, even with some of the people that you're working with now, how can you share this information? Taryn, let's see, I got
I'll
another.
step in real quick, Dr. Gordon. Hey, most of you know my grandma passed away in the fall, not too shortly after Ramona had a passing, and my mom has Alzheimer's. We've had a lot of death in our family in the last couple of years. And I think I learn the most from my children. I think they teach me more than I teach them on most days. And I think the thing is I just talk about it. We don't make it weird in my house. We talk about, living is just as much a part of dying. So I think, Mona, this is just a beautiful reminder to just talk about it. And it doesn't have to be, it's only awkward if we make it awkward. And my kiddos are young, but they would talk to anybody about it in a normal space because it's part of life. So maybe just a good reminder just to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Meg, for sharing that. And I just took we look at these slides all the time, but this statement over here just stood out to me, and it's so apropos for this particular presentation. Knowledge sharing is caring. And the knowledge that we've gained today definitely is in that particular space. Anybody else have ideas about how you can share the information that you've learned today?
I can share this information with my DSMP class at Clay County Senior Center.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chandler. Let's see, there's a couple of chats. I will share information with my team. This is from Nicole Bonner as we work with senior population, and Mona does respond to Susan Belton. Get the conversation starter for yourself and see if it helps. Very good. Thank you. Urban League. Thank you, Nicole. That's where you're from. Great. Anybody else?
Ooh. Oops, it went off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
Justin, can you get the one right before
Oh, are you talking about the tell your story at senior centers? Just start
Yeah.
conversations?
Yeah.
All right, Kate Elliott says, knowing the structure of the living celebration will help me with conversation with my parents. Also, as a social work student, I want to ultimately work in hospice. This information, yes, is very helpful. I will also share with my church community. And thank you for that, Kate. And that's definitely a good place to share this type of information. All right. Justin, if you go to the next slide. And we just want to leave a space for any other conversation about our topic today or anything else that you might want to share that's going on in your community that you would like for all of us to know about. Any events, activities, etc.
Yeah, I would just like to invite everybody to join me for My Health Matters on January 26th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. In this class, we are going to have a fantastic presenter. Her name's Scotland Stewart. She is a PhD candidate, and she's going to talk to us about sleep. So if any of you all are interested in learning how to get a better night's rest, please join us tonight that night. And I'm putting all the information in the link in the chat right here.
Yeah. And I didn't do the end slides that we normally do, Chandler, but it should be on that, as well as a Flourishing Together. We have a couple Flourishing Together classes that will start in February, and I believe that's on the slides as well. And the Flourishing Together is an 8-week class to learn about holistic health in just a really fun environment, team concept way.
Okay, great. Go ahead to the next slide, Justin.
I did want to bring people's attention to, I put the next Death Cafe in the chat earlier.
Oh, awesome.
And if people want to join, it's next Thursday, the 22nd at 6:30. You can email me and I can get you more information. But it's just a space for people to talk openly about death and dying, and there's no real agenda. So you can reach out to me.
Thank you for that, Justin. Any of you too, I know Abe mentioned the death and grief course. If you're not finishing up this semester in school, any of our students, and you have room or in your schedule to take a course in death and grief, I encourage you to do it. Dr. Schottmeyer, some of you have met her, Tara Schottmeyer. Dr. Prose, myself, I think we're the primary instructors for that course. I teach it online during the winter session. It's a 3-week compressed course, which is pretty challenging and brutal, but very, very good and effective if you would dare take it during that time. But I think it's also offered in the summer. I believe Dr. Schottmeyer might teach it then. So I wanted to make reference of that. It's an excellent course that can really give you good information, including therapeutic practices, skills, and interventions to use with individuals who are experiencing, issues as it relates to grief. So I do encourage that as well. All right, you heard about My Health Matters. This is just our schedule here for January. I'm looking forward to the one on the sleep-brain connection, and do definitely invite you all to join in. We won't have it this coming Monday, mainly because it's the holiday. Everybody can be great. This is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. And even our topic today and this presentation by Ms. Mona, I'm sure everybody can feel the love in her sharing. And again, thank you, Mona, for doing that. Next slide. Our diabetes self-management program is an evidence-based intervention. You want to get more information about it, you can go to our website as well as dates that are scheduled. And we have here that we will have a class March 3rd through April 7th and March 4th through April 9th. And you can see the times that those are available. It's virtual. So anyone across the state can join and participate in these classes. And I encourage you, if you're working with individuals who are pre-diabetic or have diabetes, please let them know about this intervention. It's very effective. Next slide. And then our Flourishing Together, Mona just mentioned that. There are dates coming up, and they're listed here in this particular slide. It's a free 8-week class that really focuses on learning a healthier, health behaviors, learn a healthier lifestyle to prevent and manage diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic diseases, or just learn how to apply good health behaviors in your life. Next slide. Yes. Just remember all the different programs and services that we provide. I'm not going to read through all of these. Again, you can go to our website and learn more about any of these programs and services. We provide quite a few things. You can see the ones listed here, but they are not all listed in our slides today. Next slide. Become an optimal aging scholar. For anybody who don't know about this particular initiative, we added this I guess last year was our first year adding the Optimal Aging Scholar program. As a participant, you'll gain valuable training in geriatric care, learn age-friendly health care practices, and take part in a practice transformation as part of an interdisciplinary team. Anyone's eligible, truly, healthcare learners enrolled in higher education, faculty and preceptors, professionals across the healthcare field, health team support staff, or community members who desire to just immerse themselves a little bit more in aging knowledge. The requirements are you complete an online excuse me, several online modules actually are in the care of the older adult. You attend an interprofessional case management experience. We call this ICME endearingly. You attend a Project Echo, which you're attending now, and participate in what we call Impact 4M training, which again is a case-based training opportunity that immerses you in interdisciplinary care, and you participate in our Optimal Aging Conference. If you're interested, please see that email at the bottom. You can reach out to Sophia Banks, and she'll tell you how to register and apply for this opportunity. Next slide. So again, some work that we're doing throughout the state are related to our GWEP grant, the Geriatric Workforce Enhancement Program grant. Our Flourish Care Centers of Excellence is a community initiative that is regional right now in 3 regions in our state: Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency, or KIPTA, CVAD, the Cumberland Valley Area Development District, or BRAD, the Bear River Area Development District. And here we're just offering input on strategies to improve coordinated care when older adults move between hospitals, rehab centers, and home, focusing in on that transitions of care, helping to hopefully identify and remove gaps of care and services for older adults so that they can live in the environment of their choice and not find themselves, for example, in a nursing facility as a result of those gaps in services. Collaborating with state and local government, healthcare systems, academic institutions, and community organizations, as well as older adult community members and caregivers. So anyone can be involved in this work, particularly in the regions that we're covering. Next slide. So we always like to close with our Kentucky Coalition for Healthy Communities pledge, which is we will become, excuse me, an effective state coalition working with community members and community-based organizations to empower our state to become a healthier and compassionate people. One of the reasons why we partner with our Project Echo here at the University of Louisville Trager Institute is for that reason, is to become an effective state coalition that is impacting the lives of everyone through the knowledge and information that we share. Therefore, we will practice self-care and model healthy behaviors to our families, co-workers, and members of our communities. It has to start with us. And as this session today have taught us so much, hopefully all the knowledge and information that you've gained will start with you in terms of practicing, and then we'll spread from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Just a reminder of our upcoming sessions. Hope you will join us on February 20th for the Power of Purpose and Social Connections and Aging Well. And then we have sessions through the rest of the spring going into the summer. So hope you can join us in the future. Gonna really invite everyone here today, if you could please complete the session evaluation. You can either use the QR code or I just put the survey link in the chat. I'm gonna hang out for a few minutes if you have any questions or need help. Otherwise, we appreciate your attendance and hope to see you in the future. Thank you so much for being here.